It is the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. Welcome back. We hope you are surviving Snowmageddon the way that Dave and I are, and we're still ready to play some bets. How is your household right now, Dave?
Definitely Snowmageddon. I should have taken a picture and pulled it up here, but I was shoveling all of the snow all weekend, but it's all right. It makes you strong. Nothing, the earbuds with some good tunes, some heavy metal, and a couple choice beverages can't fix
I'm going to say
snow.
You sounded particularly burly this morning. I was wondering what was up. So here we are. I am solo parenting this week. Wife is in Florida as I'm dealing with negative 14-degree temperatures and 2 kiddos under 2. Please say a prayer for me when you pray for your bets to hit with us this weekend. We are going to take a quick early look at the Super Bowl. We'll give you our model's earliest projections and our initial thoughts on the line. But as you can probably tell, if you are someone who follows sports betting, even at a general view, we have 2 weeks until the Super Bowl. We do this show twice a week. So you're going to get plenty more episodes from us before we get to the Super Bowl. We'll save most of our in-depth thoughts for those episodes down the line. For today, you'll just get our first gut feel reactions. Before that, we also have some wins from the weekend to take care of. Let's begin with those.
Should have bet that.
Broncos was easy, or so we thought. And it ended up being pretty easy for us, even though it got hairy late.
Yeah, maybe not for Jarrett Stidham and Sean Payton and co., though they did play a close game. But models pick Broncos 4.5. Cash pretty much any number you got it at. I think it did eventually get down to 3.5 by the time that game kicked off. So hopefully you weren't betting it last minute. But we had 4.5, +5, +5.5 all throughout the week. And the model loved it on the Broncos side of things the whole way. Cortland Sutton, the only touchdown value we talked about on the show for the Broncos last week. Aligned with Jarrett Stidham also getting an edge to throw at least one passing touchdown. We looked at that. Cortland Sutton cashed at +290, a really nice 3-to-1 edge there. We put that on our socials as well. So if there was one Broncos touchdown pick to get, it was the guy who scored the only points of the game for the Broncos. Puka JSN, 90+ and a touchdown. Little parlay hit in the Seahawks-Rams game. I actually completely forgot to bet it. I thought I had before the show, so I never actually put it in. I just assumed I had done it doing my research, so I'm kind of a little miffed on there. Got away and hit a couple, so I'm okay with it. But, I said I love that angle for the second time this season, and it cashes. Unfortunately, not for me. I did get my Rashid Shaheed first quarter ladder, thanks to the article and insights I published on site. But I will say him getting a 51-yard pass in the first quarter and then nothing for the rest of the game stings a little bit. Could have been a much better ladder, but he got it early, which was good. And then some social plays. If you were plugged into the Dimers Twitter, we were posting some free edge alerts from the app pretty much all weekend. 5 alerts total since our last show, about 1 per day, and 4 out of 5 of those hit, including a Connor McDavid goal at +120. The only one we didn't get was a single Kanata Mumfield reception in the NFC Championship. He did get 2 targets, just did not come down with the pass. So pretty good weekend for the model. And if you were plugged into the site, the podcast, or social, you probably found at least a couple winners.
The Shaheed ladder was just almost instant. It felt like one huge play early, like we talked about. So, plenty. Hopefully you picked up on at least 1 or 2 of these wins, and there was plenty to choose from, as there usually is. Get Dimers Pro. Promo code podcast, 50% off your first purchase of Dimers Pro, which gives you access to all of these edges and probabilities, really whatever you're looking for, whether it's player props, even just against the spread bets. If you want totals, if you want any sport that you're looking to bet, we've got tennis going on right now, the Australian Open. You should go check it out. It's constantly updating in real time, so much so that as I was preparing for my college corner picks later this episode, I had to replace one because the edge updated in real time. So get it. Promo code podcast, 50% off. Let's turn next to some takeaways from the conference championships.
The week that was.
Aesthetically, there may have been different vibes to these two games, but man, they were both down to the wire, good football playoff games. Did you enjoy yourself on conference championship weekend?
I did. You got two complete ends of the spectrum here. If you're a defensive guy, you got what you liked in one game. If you're an offensive guy, you got what you liked in the other. If you just like good football games, you got it in both. Broncos Pats was pure defense. Certainly the game to slam all the unders on. They're barely over 200 passing yards combined in that game. And, I got to give a tip of the hat to Stidham for a game where there was a lot of concern over him starting. He played pretty damn well given the circumstances, getting thrust into that spot. The weather obviously coming in later in the game didn't help. He made two real mistakes, which we pretty much said he would basically have to play mistake-free football for them to get away with that backwards pass fumble. Probably not one that Bo Nix is making. May have gotten away with one there, as that was definitely a touchdown that should have been ruled one, though they scored pretty much instantly anyway. The Pats, that is, so it didn't make too much of a difference unless you had a Patriots special teams defensive touchdown, in which case I can certainly feel your pain there. That would have been pretty rough. Definitely think they should have taken that 10-point lead when they had a chance early. A little too bold for me with a backup playing. I get the logic, of course. They were pretty far down the field. But, you could have been up 2 scores with your backup starting. I think you have to trust the defense there, which ultimately held the opponents to 10 points. 7 of those came off of that fumble in the red zone. So I think you got to trust the defense there. A move that will surely be questioned probably all the way through, playoffs next season, depending on how things go for the Broncos. But I did go out to shovel at halftime. I was like, all right, I should probably get out there and go take care of this. Snow was still dumping. Ended up being like twice as much as I thought. And it was all green grass. And then I come in and it looked like I shoveled the snow from my driveway onto the field. It was bizarre. It took like a second for me to actually register how completely different game it looked. But it was pretty great classic football imagery, the snow falling in the playoffs and a nice grinder of a game. It was a good one. Really enjoyable first game.
Yeah, I was going to ask where you stand on the whole snow debate. There's a lot of talk coming out of this of we just want playoffs in domes. Let's see the best players in action. But it does feel like the purists are like, no, this is part of the game. It's supposed to be played in the elements. So are you an elements supporter, Dave?
Yeah, give me the elements. It is part of the game. Look, it only happens for the most part in the last third of the season in a few select games. It's rarely dumping so badly that the game can't be played. And not for nothing, like this came out of nowhere. I obviously you could check the weather reports and stuff, but it was perfectly fine in the first half of that game. I don't think anyone would have expected it to be down to the rapid change of conditions it was. But no, come on, it's not baseball. Play it out. You got to play it out.
At the risk of, I don't know, just talking with my heartstrings for a moment here, in a snowball, I feel like this game was about as much as we could have wanted as both bettors and just fans. You got the inspired Denver performance that made it clear there was a world where they win this game. Stidham had a big play early. It's not like he totally no-showed and just couldn't even do anything for this team. The weather took over and it turned into an ugly mess. And in the end, we get the team we probably wanted to see in the Super Bowl. As much as Denver battled in this game, I think everyone's happy to see what Drake May is going to be capable of. And that final play, the rollout left, was pretty special, depending on if you believe the reports that he might have called his own number on that in a blizzard. Have you heard that?
No, I didn't actually. Wouldn't totally be surprised. I mean, he kind of has that vibe to him, that swagger. So makes sense.
Yeah. The story I heard was they wanted a handoff, punt it away. It's over. And he said, no, in a blizzard, I'm going to go take this. And would have been interesting if it went south, but what a play from him. And then on the other side, we had a classic, in my opinion, Rams, Seahawks, and Seattle earned their spot in this Super Bowl by taking down our collective Super Bowl champion before this playoffs began. Are you feeling any bitterness towards Seattle for knocking out our Rams here?
No, not particularly. The only real juice or anything I had tied to the Rams was also tied to my bracket, my personal bracket, and some long shot Super Bowl matchups that were not going to come to fruition based on the AFC representative. So no saltiness here. Both teams would have been deserving, I think, but you just got to give so much credit to the Seahawks getting here from preseason. through what they did at the end of the season, fighting through a very tough division, getting here. Tons of touchdowns in this game, very few turnovers, ball kept moving, very appropriate round 3 between the teams. And yet another game where I think going for the field goal was the correct move, and they should have done it. I know the defense wasn't stopping the Seahawks at will, but you could be down 1 with 5 minutes to go. They did get the ball back with 22 seconds and a whole field to go. I'm not an NFL coach. I'm not an analyst, but I always will say, give me the shorter field with less time than the longer field and having to go for it. Even if the Seahawks get a touchdown there, they could still win the game or tie the game with an 8-point score. So, it's possible. Another one, the analytics win out over the gut sometimes, and ultimately it probably doesn't come down to that. Xavier Smith probably cost them the game with that fumble. I really hate to poke fun at a guy in a low moment, but he looked like a cartoon the way he fell backwards. It was like slow motion, just right over his head. He never saw it in the right spot. Directly led to the Seahawks score. It gave him a 2 score lead that they didn't really relinquish from that point on. However, I'll say if you were personally victimized by the Kyren Williams 39 rushing yards with 40 plus in your bet slip, probably the only black mark on this entire game, you can reply to this podcast on YouTube, send us a DM on Twitter that says bad beat, and I will personally give you a week of Dimers Pro to make up for the pain. I was victimized by this, as I know many of you were, as I've seen across social media and Reddit and the general community. So probably the only thing that didn't come out of this game as a winner was Kyren Williams' performance. They find the end zone, though.
Right. Yeah, he still found ways to provide value if you had the certain angle of him. But I would love to see those tickets. I stand in solidarity if there's anyone out there that got jobbed the way that we did. However, I just have one gripe with this game. Great football game. Seattle earned it. I'm not mad about it. Cooper Kupp with so many big plays against his former team. Was I rooting for Matt Stafford? Of course. And that's why I have to complain that I needed one more stop from the LA defense. I just wanted him to get a 2-minute drill. I mean, getting the ball back with 28 seconds, and that he hits that first throw, I'm thinking there's a chance here. If he just gets to midfield, I trust this guy who has led so many fourth quarter comebacks in so many dire situations to pull off a miracle. And look, even if just the last play, if he just gets out of bounds, I would have loved to see one chance at the end zone. But outside of me getting greedy going to war for my guy, I thought that was just a great football game. Seattle was clearly the class of the NFC. I don't know how you could really debate it at this point. And the Sam Darnold art has been pretty cool to watch, just as someone who has no Sam Darnold stock whatsoever. For that guy to basically be shown the door after a really special season in Minnesota last year and say, yeah, we'll find better than you. And for him to immediately go to a Super Bowl, like that's just a really cool story about resilience. So there you get the emotional side of this as always. All right. Can we check in with our bracket challenge as well? We unveiled this before the playoffs. We've looked back at it through each round. Where do we stand going into the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we got a good one here. I'll actually just pull up a quick little shot of it. We can take a look. But our leader for now has done a great job to this point. Shout out Quinn. But with the Rams as their champ and only a 50-point lead or a 100-point lead over the next contenders, they sadly won't be able to take it home. If the Pats win, it'll be our current second place holder who takes the crown. It's Alex. And if the Seahawks win, it'll go to our third place holder, who is tied with the Dimers Bot entry, folks.
Wow.
At least I think that's how it'll break down based on points allocation. But yes, the Dimers Bot model entry, which was based off of our round 1 moneyline predictions, and then simply using the model's futures to determine the winner of any subsequent matchup, has got the Seahawks as champ, sitting right here, tied for third. If we win, Dimers Bot wins the bracket, but we're still giving away our Dimers Pro prize to the champ, regardless of where the bot finishes. I'm cooked. Greg's bracket's cooked. We tried, but ultimately it was all about the bot. And good luck to our remaining contenders come the Super Bowl.
It's the last time I try and outsmart the bot this season. And it always happens every year, and it never goes well. And it would be botception. If we gave the Dimers bot access to Dimers Pro, would he just turn into like an even more powerful supercomputer?
Yes, a sentient model that solves all of world society problems.
Yeah, all of a sudden we wouldn't need to do this podcast anymore. I don't think it would just be done by the bot.
Or it becomes the Terminator.
Yeah, right. There's a fill in the dark to talk here. That'll be interesting. Good luck to all our remaining contestants, Alex and Jonathan, there with plenty to be proud of in that run. And I think that's a great segue. We are going to do an early look at Super Bowl 60.
The early edge.
Like I said at the top, we are not going to go too in depth today. There will be 3 more. So I guess expect increasingly more granular looks at this game in various ways. We'll give you all the typical ways we break down football games to bet. We'll give you the evolving prop value as we get closer and learn more availabilities. We will obviously update you if there are any serious updates or movements to lines and or edges along the way. But for now, let's just talk about where this line is set, our early impressions, and what the model shows immediately at the top.
Yeah, so like you said, Greg, we'll get more into this. I would expect, our final show before the Super Bowl to probably be the traditional Thursday show with the bets and picks and everything we really like. But yeah, we'll have some fun with the next 2 shows. We'll look at some really different angles, try to find some fun stuff. There's going to be sportsbook promos out there pretty much daily, at least in the final week leading up to the Super Bowl. So we'll have plenty to look at as far as angles. And yeah, so let's just start with a general overview of this game, which is Seahawks -4.5. If you know what, let's just pull up the projections now. Why wait? And if you go into our model's early predictions in the best bets, you'll find Pats +4.5 has a 60.3% probability, a significant 9.1% edge there. So again, some really high value, almost at even money on the spread as well. Total is at 45.5 with the model giving it a 53.2% probability to the over. Just about fair odds there. No particular edge in any direction. And Patriots money line at 38.0% on the dot gets you a 4.4% edge, just shy of +200. That is fair odds of about +160. So I thought it was interesting doing some research. This is actually the least likely Super Bowl matchup of all time based on preseason odds. +6,000 for Seattle and +8,000 for New England, which kind of feels like a summary of the season, right? Where we said there didn't seem to be that one single team. Anybody could win it. And it kind of looked like that. Ended up being pretty top heavy as we got through the playoffs. But, it was there. The writing on the wall from before the season was that it was truly anybody's to take. And here we are with the longest odds Super Bowl we've ever seen. If you didn't catch any Patriots Super Bowl value last week when they were around +260, which we said if you think they're going to make the run, that's the time to get them. But they're not too far off here, just about +200. They are notable underdogs, but you're not losing a ton of value there if you missed out on them before the conference championships, mostly because that was cooked in that they were likely going to get there over the Broncos. So it doesn't, that was pretty much their odds to win against whoever the NFC representative was. But this line opened up at 3.5 before quickly moving to +4.5. Tells you that sharp money hit the Seahawks pretty early, cut to cover that number. You see a lot more sharp money coming in early. Public often bets closer to game time. I believe the majority of public betting comes on the day of. So, they're not the ones looking for those early lines. So the books kind of rely on that a little bit to help shore up the Super Bowl line, which is interesting that you would have thought the Pats, maybe not quite 4.5 underdogs, but it's the first time since 2022 Bengals Rams that the spread even opened outside the key number. So the books even before the movement had the Pats as the biggest dog in a few years here. Only the 4th or 5th time the past 15 years that's happened where it's opened outside the field goal, which is kind of why my gut feel, I figured it might be like 2.5 or +3 on the dot. But Also the lowest total in some time, almost 10 years now, 2016. Carolina, Denver, that went under, and that was a total of 43.5. So not, a ton to take away there, but we have seen much higher totals lately, and we're getting just 45.5 here. Underdogs have won the last three Super Bowls outright, covered in 5 straight. So certainly, trend leans towards the Patriots side, and all that stuff we just talked about. I'm not really surprised to see the model side where it is this early. Most spreads open inside this number. Totals are often higher than this. The model doesn't operate off of trends, but it's using historical data and whatnot to make its projection. So you're not going to see it do something radical, especially with the opening line. So this all makes sense here to me. I don't hate the model alongside the Pats plus 4.5. Gut certainly says the Seahawks win this. Far more impressive in their 2 playoff games, I'd say. Top 10 defense in virtually every metric all year long. Pats defense is very good. Feels like they're kind of bailing out the offense throughout the playoffs, though. And total-wise, the model's got a 53% probability, but there is no value here. So I'm comfortable to, offer some skepticism about which way I think it's going. But nothing I've seen from the Pats offense in the postseason has me very interested in an over, that's for sure.
Given your thoughts, which are also my thoughts, I think the Seahawks are the team I want to bet. They're the likely champion, of course, based on everything we've seen. However, I'm also shocked the line is more than a field goal. I thought most here would be 3.5. I'm just not surprised whatsoever that the model shows value on the Pats at the current number. If forced to pick one to bet, would you rather play Pats money line, or would you rather play Pats at this number at 4.5?
If I had to pick one, I'd probably just take the Pats money line. It's the Super Bowl. Anything can happen. Like, underdogs have played really well lately. Won 3 in a row, covered in the last 5. Nothing would surprise me to see them win. They have continuously pulled out these surprises to get away with their seemingly less than average play sometimes. So yeah, if I had to pick one, I would take the dog outright on the edge. Sweet spot from the model. You're getting better odds, of course, given where the line is at.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And look, I think both are high edge plays, right? You can see what the model says right in front of you. There's a 9% edge on the spread right now. There's a 4% edge on money line. And even though we're saying we'd probably just go money line just to get the 2-to-1 odds, I think either's a pretty good play. I'm most curious where this line is headed between now and kickoff. And I don't think we've seen a ton of movement yet here. And I don't think, even thinking back to previous years, it doesn't feel like there's been a Super Bowl where the line has moved dramatically in the 2 weeks without maybe serious injury news. So I'm not exactly expecting this to get to a key number one way or the other, but I do sort of have this gut feel. I think the entire world wants to be on Seahawks. Yeah. And I wouldn't be that surprised if it keeps getting bet up a little bit. So I don't know, kind of to your point, like, I think you and I are sitting here like, we expect the Seahawks to win. We would never bet it at this number, but I'm also probably not sprinting to the line to bet Pats just yet, in case it, jumps up another point possibly by the public trying to play Seahawks. So I don't know, any thoughts on that? Like, is the time right now, is it time to wait basically?
Yeah, I completely agree. We were kind of wrong about the Pats last week. I was like, oh, wait, because it'll probably get better. And it didn't. I was like, what is happening here with this line? So it was good to get them when you did. But or if you waited on them, sorry. But no, yeah, I mean, if there's going to be more money coming in, it's probably not going to be sharp money on the Patriots suddenly in the opposite direction after 1 point, right?
If anything, I think that money would come in late too. And now we're getting into like trying to handicap the way the betting industry works, which is certainly not what we're trying to do. But I don't know. I just have this gut feel that like waiting, if you are looking to bet the Pats, I don't think you need to sprint to do it today. And if anything, if you're a Seahawks bettor, you might be hoping it goes the other way and waiting until it gets closer to a field goal when the sharp money comes in. So I don't know. It's a weird one. Like this 4.5 number, something feels weird. I thought for sure this would be plus 3.5. And I don't know what to do with it today,
Yeah, no, completely. And it's, we kind of already talked about it, but it's weird to not have it right around the key number. When you get the Super Bowl, you're not getting a huge underdog because of the fact that the teams got to the Super Bowl. So it's going to be short, and it's just hovering in this weird limbo. The only thing worse would be if it was 5.5. I think it would be even just stranger, but
it'd be more confusing. Yeah. But I mean, look,
Yeah.
both these teams, these are 2 14-3 football teams. Like we can't sit here and act like we're shocked that New England is in the Super Bowl at this point. And yes, they haven't looked as good as Seattle, but I'm kind of shocked to see it outside the key range. We see every Super Bowl seem to open up at a field goal. So we'll see. The model agrees as of now. Like I said, we have 3 more episodes between now and the Super Bowl to watch where this goes and react to it in real time. In the meantime, can we do an early prop check?
Yeah, just take a quick look here. This is probably where you're going to see, lots of movement between now and then. I mean, you're going to see odds shift. You're going to see lines move. So, if you see a number you love now, and if the model likes it, it's probably a good idea to get it at its current line, over under props wise. But real quick at some touchdown value, there's a good bid on the Pats. At least last I looked, you got Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson for a pair, for 1, Trevion Henderson for a touchdown. I was looking at this earlier, and I can't help but affix my gaze on it now. Plus 550 for Trevion Henderson to score an anytime touchdown. He's 20.1%, so that's plus 400 for fair odds. He's been bad in the playoffs, averaging 2.4 yards per carry, 2 catches on, I think, 3 targets. He completely bottomed out in this past game with 3 carries and 0 targets. In a game, the Pats completed 10 passes for 80-something yards. So not really the game script you want to see the running back not involved in to then be looking to bet him the following week. You're buying him at his lowest point here, but plus 550 for a running back who had 4 multi-touchdown games this year is a little eye-raising to me. And, it takes one play. If they're down there in the red zone, it takes one play. You saw the Seahawks. I mean, they didn't struggle to contain the Rams backfield split last week, but Kyren Williams scored on a receiving play. And on that last drive, I was tilting watching Kyren Williams not carry it. Blake Warren racked up like 55 all-purpose yards on that final drive, it seemed like. So, that's just really good value. You're getting a guy in at least a theoretical backfield split at plus 550 for a touchdown. It's pretty nuts. Hard for me to ignore that.
Yeah. I think it's the right spot to circle in terms of just an early glance at everything I see here. Yeah, I'm with you. And I was also on tilt watching the final drive. It was like, this dude's involved in every single play. It was insane.
And then Kyren gets 1 carry for no gain. It was wild. The conspiracy theorists were certainly having a ball with that one. Nothing like that from me. It's just like I was laughing like my Joker moment. I was turning into the Joker, laughing hysterically, going crazy watching that. But Seahawks side, touchdown value wise, there's nothing from a value perspective. You got Kenneth Walker, 54% almost, but he's like minus 190, pretty heavy juice. He ended up coming down to about minus 130 before the NFC Championship last week, and he started around the same odds. I think he was like minus 175, so I wouldn't be rushing to put him in anything there. And, the backfield split didn't exactly move away from him getting closer to game time. Yeah, they activated Helani, but he did nothing, and it was the Kenneth Walker show regardless. One thing I do like, I should primarily save this for another show, but if you want to bet on Ken Walker, as far as finding the end zone, I would look at him at Super Bowl MVP. He's plus 700, and he's plus 285 for a pair of touchdowns. We have him at, let me check this real quick, what his probability is for 2. I meant to put that in the show or in my notes. 18.1%. So that should only be like plus 450 or so for 2+ touchdowns, but he's plus 285. You got to figure if Kenneth Walker scores 2 touchdowns, does anything remotely productive yards wise, Sam Darnold probably isn't also throwing 2 touchdowns unless one of those is to him. It's Kenneth Walker there. And I'm kicking myself for not taking him at plus 2,200 before the NFC Championship. He was sitting there. I was like, he's going to be the guy these next 2 games. And yeah, so that's something I would be looking at least as far as betting on Kenneth Walker to find the end zone. I would not bet him outright to score a touchdown. I'd look at him for something like Super Bowl MVP.
I like that shout. You're going to get way better value, bigger odds, obviously, if you go that route. And he's a game-breaking type back that's never had this type of volume before. He got 19 of the 26 carries. 3 of those 26 were Sam Darnold's, and 1 was Rashid Shaheed. It's not like they were trying to break in both Cam Akers, who got some third down snaps, and then George Holani, who did finish with 3 carries, but did nothing with them. I would not be stunned whatsoever if you see Walker get the biggest workload of his career. I think especially if they're holding a lead and you're just trying to avoid turnovers, like just pound the rock in this game. I will not be surprised if he ends up with 25 carries. And the thing is, he is a big play back. Like, he didn't exactly have a great average against LA, but it's not a surprise at all to see him break away, run through tackles, juke moves left and right. And I just think a couple big ones there. He's probably the best value spot as far as MVP goes. I had one other name I wanted to ask you about, which is it sounds crazy to float him as an MVP candidate. However, he is such a unique archetype, and his role in the Seattle team has been so strange since he joined the team. A Rashid Shaheed Super Bowl MVP long shot has my attention. What if he runs a kickback? What if he has one big play in the air and it was 2 plays for 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden he's the Super Bowl MVP of this game?
I don't hate it. If I'm taking one long shot in this game, it's him, because it's not going to be another Seattle receiver. Like, I mean, Cooper Kupp did once upon a time with the Rams. He's not going to have that kind of game on Super Bowl Sunday. I was surprised he found the end zone in that last one, but helped me catch a parlay though, so I'll take it. Yeah, no, I love that. Right, or if he even has some good returns and has a good scores a touchdown receiving or something, or a big rushing play. He's such a big play guy. The variance you get with him is incredible. His line is set so low, so he's a great betting target. If you can deal with possibly getting a goose egg, he's just so worth the high variance. And we've seen him make play after play since they got him. We talked about him being the most impactful signing we've seen, or midseason acquisition we've seen in some time. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all. JSN is probably going to be matched up with Christian Gonzalez. Pats haven't allowed they've allowed 170-yard rusher or receiver, since last 10 games, I think it is week 12 or something. And it was Zay Flowers with 84. They haven't allowed a single 90-yard receiver. We project JSN at 95, which is around his usual output, but he might struggle to get it going in this game. No knock on his talent. Obviously, he's maybe the best receiver out there, but yeah, I mean, come on, if you're going for a long shot, he's probably like 20-1, right?
Yeah, I honestly haven't even seen it yet. But it's gotta be something crazy like that. So yeah, just floating it. I mean, it's crazy. It is as crazy as it sounds. But the thing with Shaheed is you're always just one play away. And in a game like this, I mean, the guy who makes the biggest play, the loudest play, is often the guy that ends up holding up that hardware. I wouldn't hate it if we are looking for ways to try and get some player-specific value on the Seahawks side. I'm with you. Shaheed has sort of been my go-to guy in this offense for the last couple months. And it usually has led to something. Like, we got that first quarter ladder last game. So speaks to how his usage has been. But all right, there we go. That's our early prop look. We will come back to this game, of course, with a ton more coverage in the coming episodes. But for today, we are going to stop right there. If you want all this information in real time, again, just get Dimers Pro. Promo code podcast. You can get 50% off as you sign up for that. We've got NBA tonight, which means King of the Court is back with DraftKings. Let's go through your King of the Court rundown, please.
Yes. So we got our 5 guys this week. I'll say I did not really get into the long shot stuff. It's our straight up top 5 projected. So our long shots are very much air quotes long shots, but they got some solid matchups here on deck. If you want to go deeper, I would just, take somebody on one of these teams that is a longer odds play. But overall, I think we've got some pretty good targets here tonight and some good matchups. So let's pull them up here and go through them one by one real quick. Starting off with Denny Avdija, not who you would think would be leading the projections, but here he is projected for 46.6 PRA atop the slate. small concern about availability. He's questionable, game time decision, missed the last 2 games with a back issue. But we're gonna move forward as if he is playing, since he's in our projections. And if he's not, just wait till closer to game time. You don't have to lock these in early. It doesn't change anything. But he's in the middle of an absolute breakout season for him. Career highs across the board, nearly 10 points more per game, about 3 assists more per game, the most threes he's ever made. Fully blossomed into a 3-cat contributor for Portland. We've seen his ceiling recently with 52, 50, and 49 PRA this month. Matchup lines up perfectly for him. It's his former team, Washington, so he's getting a little revenge motivation here. They rank 24th in points and rebounds allowed, and 25th in assists allowed to forwards. Like I said, only concern here is availability, but if he plays, it lines up for a good night for him. SGA is next, projecting him for 46.2 against the Pelicans. Also our highest projected scorer of the night at 34.2 points. He's not a rebounds and assists compiler like some of the other top targets in this, which is why I'm not surprised that he hasn't won the crown this year. But his scoring alone can push him near the 50 PRA range. He's done that a couple times this month already. He's second in the NBA in scoring all season. 55 and 58 PR games this month. Both those performances were driven by 40-point scoring nights. So honestly, if you're going to bet SGA to be the PRA or for King of the Court, you might as well bet him for 40 points. He's probably going to need it because he, kind of hovers around the middle of the pack in rebounds and assists. Great matchup with the Pelicans, ranked 29th in opponent assists, 28th in opponent scoring. A little bit better lately over the past 10 games or so. Thunder have actually been a little weaker lately too. So I don't hate going for like a deep cut, like Pelicans target in this, like Zion or something. But with the Thunder coming off back-to-back losses, sets up a spot where they're probably going to lean on SGA tonight. So, and he sits right there at second overall. Probably going to be a popular pick though, just given the star power of his name. James Harden projected 41.0. He's third on the board in our projections. Gets one of the best matchups you can ask for all season against the Jazz. If he doesn't win the crown, he's probably cashing more than one alternate line here. Utah ranks dead last in the NBA in points and assists allowed, both on the season and over their last 10 games. They struggled on the glass, ranking 25th in boards allowed in that same stretch. Harden's top 15 in scoring, 4th in assists this season, puts him in position to exploit this great matchup. He hasn't cleared 7 boards since November, so a triple-double seems a little unlikely unless he can really capitalize on the matchup, but it might be worth playing a triple-double for your entry play if you play him. Otherwise, I would look at 30-plus points, strong assist upside. Maybe his line's probably around 9.5, so maybe whatever you can get plus money assists on him. And it's worth noting he's only cleared 50 PRA this season when he scores 35 or more. So also maybe just bet him to get 35 plus if you're going to go for him for the King of the Court. That is the key swing stat for him. Moving into our, again, air quotes, long shots. Cade Cunningham, who ranks 4th on the night with 40.1 PRA rather. Maybe quietly, maybe I'm just, I'm not a huge NBA head, so I'm not as plugged in as I am with other sports. But leading the NBA in assists per game at 9.7. Also owns the second highest assist projection on the night from our model at 9.2, right behind Harden. So it looks like he's going to have some good upside there tonight. Since Christmas, he's got 2 games over 50 PRA, 3 triple doubles this season. So that would probably be a target prop for his entry, for your entry on Cade Cunningham rather. Denver ranks 28th in boards, 24th in points allowed to guards over their last 10 games, getting a little soft there. We've seen elite guards torch this Nuggets defense recently. 61 PRA from Luka just last Tuesday, won King of the Court. So definitely opens the door for Cade to stuff the stat sheet all across the board. And then rounding it out here, I'll be honest, when I put the article together, I was kicking it between Brunson or Cat. And Cat's just kind of been a little quiet lately. And, I figured if I'm already going with the top 4, I might as well just go with the top 5. So Jalen Brunson here rounds it out at 39.4 PRA. Kind of he's probably hoping that he gets a proper crack here at Sacramento. He left a couple weeks ago with an ankle injury after like 5 minutes. So he's getting a better shot at him this time. And there's such a good matchup for him to cook. Fresh off a 52 PRA performance against the Sixers. Best showing since he dropped 58 almost or a little over a month ago before Christmas. Had a 47-point scoring night in I believe that past 58 PRA performance. So, he's got insane upside. Kings are a favorable matchup, 28th in opponent points and assists, 26th in boards over their last 10 games. Brunson's projected for 6.6 assists, which ranks 7th on the slate. Strong option for some plus money lines, I think. I wouldn't be surprised to see him tally up a double-double or hit 8, 9, 10 assists tonight. And reminder, we are always just looking for ways to attack these games. Even if these guys don't win King of the Court, we're looking at the matchups, we're looking at the projections, some good betting angles to play as straights or in a lotto. Like I said, Harden 35 plus, Cade alternate assists, maybe a triple-double if you're looking for a big long shot. Brunson plus money assists or a double-double. Those are plays I'll be looking at in some capacity. Good chance I'll play at least a few of these as straights, even alongside one of them as my King of the Court. And then probably do a little lotto of, one stat I love on each of these guys and hope they all hit it and make a nice contended King of the Court night tonight.
Love it. Yep. Especially while we wait 2 weeks for Super Bowl. I'm turning my attention to NBA immediately, and this is a huge help. So thank you, Dave, and thank you for hammering home that this is all about finding the spots that we see some value in and play all 5 of these and hopefully get in the green on all of them, not just looking for the one King of the Court winner. Okay, next up is college hoops. That's my territory. It's like they're phoning me in from the bullpen. Let's do some College Corner.
College Corner.
Okay, we're looking at 3 spots that I love for various reasons. Reminder, if you have not seen this program throughout college football season into college hoop season, Dimers has a ton of college sports best bets available every single day. Now that it's college hoop season, there's basically games 7 days a week until the conclusion of the Final Four in Indianapolis. And I'm watching and betting these games every night. I'm building my own cards. What I do is pair the bets that are already on my card with what I see in the Models Best Bets tab. Anytime that we have overlap there, it usually leads to some success. And we've got 3 of them tonight, beginning with Vanderbilt -6.5 against Kentucky. I think this is the ultimate sell high spot on a Kentucky team who really has a lot of issues that are being covered up right now by the simple fact that they have won 5 consecutive games. This was the team that started 9-6 overall, 0-2 in SEC play. Since then, they've beaten Mississippi State, LSU, Tennessee, Texas, and Ole Miss. 3 of those teams are at the very bottom of the SEC standings. The Tennessee win may age well. It may not. The bottom line is this. They haven't really played a true contender in this stretch where they have, quote unquote, gotten right. Meanwhile, more guys have dropped like flies on the injury bug for Kentucky. Cam Williams is now out indefinitely. They're still missing Jaden Quaintance, the starting center. They're still missing Jalen Lowe for the year, the starting point guard. I just think they've been able, and give Mark Pope credit, to almost put like a paper bag over a broken window, and nobody's noticed that it's broken. And here comes the team I think is the best team in the SEC. It's Vanderbilt, who's been pretty flawless at home. They had a bad stretch just a couple weeks ago, but they really rounded out the ship nicely, putting 88 points on Mississippi State over the weekend. I think Vanderbilt's just better. They're a really tough cover for a banged-up Kentucky team, and I'd be surprised if Vandy doesn't pull away and win by double digits. Game number 2 tonight is a big, fun rivalry game in Big Ten country, Purdue against Indiana, and Purdue is as desperate as this Braden Smith-led Purdue team can get. They have lost 2 straight games. That has very rarely happened in this 4-year run of dominance for Purdue. Reminder, this was the preseason #1 team coming into the season. All of their issues have been on the defensive side of the ball, and I think this is a matchup where they can outscore their way to a win. Indiana really leans on Lamar Wilkerson and Tucker DeVries to be a 2-headed monster offensively, but I think Purdue's got enough individual perimeter defenders that can hang with those guys, and Indiana doesn't really have the front court players needed to exploit the things that Illinois just exploited last week. So I'm looking at Purdue to really respond. I thought it would come against Illinois over the weekend. Ultimately, 46 points from Keaton Wagler for Illinois was enough to go toe-to-toe and win in Mackey Arena. But I just can't envision this Purdue team losing 3 straight games at this point in the season, let alone to their in-state rival in game 1 of the Darren DeVries era. Give me Purdue to spoil Kurt Signetti night at Assembly Hall. And then the final game of the College Corner tonight is another SEC game. We're going to Alabama against Tennessee. We're going to take the Tide minus the big number here. It's minus 10.5. And this is one of the higher probability plays according to our best bets model tonight. It's a 4% edge, a 56% probability that they cover 10.5. And Alabama is banged up, almost like Kentucky was. However, most of their injuries are minor. They're not season ending. They were sort of the bad karma story of the sport this past week because Nate Oates took a flyer on Charles Bediako, who is currently an NBA G Leaguer, and he is now playing. He got a court order to be able to play for Alabama that's been extended 10 more days. They lost at home to Tennessee after pulling this move, which was just shocking, quite frankly. But I think it spoke to a couple starters being out, Amari Allen and Aiden Holloway in that game. If they get those guys back, I think that this Alabama team should respond. And I miswrote this on the outline. It's actually Missouri they're playing, not Tennessee. I was looking at their last game. So if you're looking at this like minus 10.5 against Tennessee, don't worry, it's Missouri, a much more beat-upable team. Missouri's been really good against the bottom teams in this conference. They have really not held up well when they have to go up against the best of the best in the country. Case in point being a 20-point loss to Kansas, a 43-point loss to Illinois on a neutral earlier this season. If you have offensive stars, which Alabama has in LeBaron Philon, you can get whatever you want against this Missouri defense. And I think they need a bounce back, given that they just lost to Tennessee. It would be a shocker for Alabama to not play to their ceiling 2 games in a row. So add them together. We're on 3 favorites tonight. I think 2 of the 3 are in a really desperate need to win, play your best spot. And then the third is a simple Kentucky fade. It's Vanderbilt, Purdue, and Alabama to cover the spread.
Awesome stuff, Greg. Thank you.
As always, my friend. And make sure you like and subscribe to the show. We want to grow this as big as we can. 5-star reviews really help us. Leave a comment. Even just a simple like on anything you see in YouTube or in your social feeds would help us continue to get this where we want it to go. Next up, we are going to turn to the PGA Tour where we have the Farmers Insurance Open. But first, let's recap last week. The inevitable happened. Scotty Scheffler is back.
Yeah, he certainly is. Plus 300 odds. Had an edge from the model. We talked about it. I personally said I'm looking further down the board. Too early for me in the season to get on Scotty. Probably won't be doing that again. I mean, if the model shows value in him, I'll be betting him. And I'll be betting everybody else, win or without, as I said, or just top 5. Because if he's doing this in his first event of the year, where he was pretty close and then won by 4 strokes, I just don't know what anybody else can expect to do. Fortunately, he's out of the field this week, so we can get a little bit more of a shot, at least on some of our longer edge guys. Tough break for some of them last week. Henley, we had him with value to win. We talked about him being better play and placements. Well, he had a share of the lead on day 3, fell to T28 by the end of the day, ended up finishing tied for 8th on the week. So cash top 20, cash top 10. Harry Hall, Ben Griffin, they were fighting around, but they ultimately finished outside the top 20 and didn't cash for us. But we move on to Torrey Pines for the Farmers Insurance Open. Some pretty good storylines here, probably none smaller than Koepka's return, or none larger, rather. Koepka's return to the PGA Tour, Xander Schauffele's season debut in his hometown, and reigning champ Harris English in the field following up his T27 debut last week. So go through the course real quick here, just break things down a bit. Obviously teeing off on Thursday through Sunday. It's a $9.6 million purse. I think that makes this a signature event. I believe there are 2 courses here, the North and South course. Everyone's going to play 1 round on each before the cut, and then the play will move to the tougher South course for the weekend's round. So that's where, play will mostly determine this tournament. lot of little minutia about, if you play the North Course in better conditions, you're better set up because you'll capitalize, and then guys who play the North Course in tougher conditions aren't getting as much of a benefit. But 3 rounds on the South Course, which is much harder, that's where it's going to be decided for the most part. A lot of people consider this the first true test of the tour season. Winning scores are typically lower in the low teens, as opposed to, like we saw last week, an absolute birdie fest that was pushing -30. Like I said, going to be determined on the South Course. So that's kind of what we're mostly looking at or what you should be looking at as far as aligned stats and matchups and stuff. Quick breakdown of each course. They're both par 72s, but the North Course is a lot shorter. It's 58 yards. South Course is 7,800 almost. It's the longest on the PGA Tour. Greens are larger on the North Course, smaller on the South Course. Most difficult non-major course on the tour last year. Average score was 73.5, 1.5 strokes over par. Narrow fairways. Like I said, the greens are about 1,000 square feet smaller on the South Course, so just a lot harder to hit your spots. Greens are bumpier on the Poa Nua grass, and it's a driver-heavy course that's going to give an edge to the longer hitters. So if you're looking for individual guys, look at who's good off the tee, who's good on approach at longer distances. And when you're looking at driving stuff, look at who can really drive the ball over distance, a little bit less on accuracy, especially if they're good on approach. So pull up the predictions here. We'll go through each guy we have to get an edge in the outright market, and just quickly take a peek at the predictions in the placements to talk about who might have value there. So we'll start off with Xander Schauffele. Plus 1,600. He's at 7.6%. He's our model's favorite. He'd be fair at plus 1,215. Hometown hero. He's back at Torrey Pines. He missed it last year with a rib injury as he was recovering. Little bit of a slow start last season before picking it up. But he really ended the season in what you would consider Xander Schauffele form. He perfectly fits this as far as a bomber. 24th in driving distance last season, 12th in strokes gained approach, 32nd on approach is over 200 yards. So like I said, those longer distance iron play is going to come into be a factor pretty heavily. Putting was a weakness for him last year, but historically that's a strength of his. So it gives him upside if he's, pretty much back into his normal form. Strong fit here with tee to green ability. And like I said, he's the model's favorite. He's getting an edge. He's worth a target here. Next up, our second most likely, JJ Spawn, 5.9%. He's plus 3,300, fair at 1,600. Quietly, one of the more interesting course fit plays, I think, here. 10th straight start at this tournament. Solid start in 2025 at this event. He had a T15. Pretty good last week. He had opening and closing rounds 66. He ended up finishing T40 though with his middle rounds not very good. He has a T9 and I mentioned a T15 here in the past. Those are his best finishes. The T9 was his his debut here, and T15 was his most recent. Really good on long approaches. 5th on tour last season on approaches over 200 yards. Not really known for distance or accuracy off the tee, so it kind of caps his winning ceiling. Might look at him more as a top 20, top 10, top 5 guy than an outright. Let's check real quick if he's got the edge there. Nothing in top 5, but top 10 and top 20, he has an edge. So maybe temper your expectations for a win, but he should be in contention at least. Cameron Young, 5.5%, plus 2,200, fair at 1,720. Sky high expectations for this guy coming into his 5th season. He was scorching hot to end last year. He won, finished 5th, 11th, T4, T9, solo 10th down the stretch. That all came after a missed cut at the Open. So he just completely rebounded from that, put it behind him. Started here twice. He's got a T20 and a missed cut. So total mixed bag of those two. Got lots of power, 17th in driving distance last year, 31st off the tee overall. Not very accurate, but as we said, you want to prioritize distance over accuracy. 7th overall in putting last year, 4th in one putts, which could be a huge difference here on these, especially the bigger greens. If he can get a little bit closer, he's got an advantage for shortening up those holes. Weakness is a bit on approach, though, so you might be getting a little bit of a mixed bag here. Hideki Matsuyama, next winner with an edge, 3.8%, going just slightly down the board here. 3,500, fair at 2,530. Excellent form coming into this season. He's made the cut in his last 9 outings here, 5 top 20 finishes, has a T3 and a T9. He's more accurate than he is a power guy, but he's really good on approach. He ranked 19th last year. His long iron play is obviously a strength, which is good on this long setup. And if the putter behaves a little better, he should have a pretty good outing here and follow up his solid starts so far. And then finally, we're going to look at Alex Noren. He doesn't get a flame here, but you just have to do, sometimes this is why getting used to implied probability and stuff is helpful, because you can see, first of all, just you look at him, he's plus 6,000, and everybody in his same odds range is 3,000, 2,800, plus 4,000. So it signals there might be an edge there. And if you do the math, there certainly is. 2.6% is fair at plus 3,750, and he's plus 6,000. So that might be only about 1% probability, but it's a huge difference in the odds. He opened the year with a missed cut, but he caught fire late last year after missing the first 4 months due to injury recovery. 4 top 10s in his last 5 starts, a T7, T3, playoff runner-up. Model's got some great value here, as I mentioned. He's a really good putter, 3rd on tour in strokes gained putting last year. So it gives him a great path on a course where, like the South course, where putting is difficult. He's not an elite tee to green guy, but if he continues, the way he finished last year, he should certainly contend with some of the other guys at the top of the board. And like I said, there's a lot more placement value to dive into here. If you look through, plenty of top 20s, you have a couple guys who don't have an edge outright. Justin Rose, Christian Bezuidenhout, I think I said his name correctly. That one's a mouthful. Matt Kuchar. And then sometimes even when you look at the winners, you look down here, you might find something like Christian again, plus 9,200, 1.5%. I can tell you without doing the math, that's an edge. Aaron Ray, 1.5%, plus 8,600. That's an edge. Sometimes just seeing the guys and how much their odds are different from the guys around them can give you a little hint there too. But lots to dig into here. I'll play these winners as I usually do, very small unit, and then look at other ways to play them in placements. Little top 20 parlay maybe of our top 3 edges or our top 3 probabilities. Usually a fun way to go. Would have been pretty close last week if Ben Griffin and Harry Hall got in there. So tons of ways to play it. And don't sleep on the matchup tool either. One of these days we'll go through, we'll have a little bit more fun with this thing, but you can, plug in any 2 golfers. It'll spit out their probabilities to finish head to head, either over round 1 or a full tournament. Sometimes it can be a little finicky here. But if you give it a try, let us know if it doesn't work for you and we'll talk about it. It's not working for me now. Bad demo here, but it does work. It does function. And I'll probably actually write up a little head-to-head matchup parlay for it this week. And hey, gotta just real quick. Let's look at Brooks Koepka.
He's back.
Yep. So he's back, officially a member of the PGA Tour again. We're getting him 1.3% to win, plus 6,600. Quick math on that. I'm not doing well, but it's not an edge. I don't believe it's probably pretty close to fair odds though. As far as a top 20, 25.6%. See, that's almost fair. Plus 300 would be fair. Actually, that pretty much is 0.6. So yeah, he's about fair. Model doesn't find an edge on him, but he might contend. Might be a lot more going on for him mentally than just getting back on into the swing of things. No pun intended, but something to look for.
Yeah, what a time for Koepka, for golf fans, his return. Hopefully, if you're a truther like me, hopefully the first of a few returns that we see in the near future on the PGA Tour. But no, I'll give the same plug you're giving. I mentioned it last week. The golf edition of the model, right? We kind of refer to everything as like the football model, the basketball. It's all the same model, but the tools that are at your disposal as a golf bettor using the Dimers model, it's one of the more comprehensive ways to do it. I'm glad you got into some of the matchup betting, because I remember days years ago where I was just pretty much a pure against the spread bettor, and I would bet football, basketball outcomes, like head to head. I want one of these 2 outcomes. That's how I like to bet. And this feels like decades ago before really I got into player props. But the point is, I think a lot of people look at golf as like the wild, wild west where you can't get that sort of action because it's just you have to pick one out of a hat of 100 people playing. No, you can bet head-to-head golf matchups too, the same way you would bet head-to-head anything else. And luckily, the Dimers model is a great resource for that. So of everything you went through here, I am on Cam Young because, to your point, he was scorching hot at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Amazing putter, bombs it off the tee. I think he sets up really nicely for this course. And thank you to Scotty Scheffler for not playing this week because it's my favorite thing when we have the fire emoji on the model on the 3 most likely winners of the tournament, Xander Schauffele, JJ Spawn, and Cam Young. So that's nice. Instead of just staring at like plus 250 Scotty Scheffler odds, we're getting 16, 33, and 22 to 1 and all show value for our 3 favorites, Dave. That's fun.
Yeah, probably also why we're getting value on those longer odds plays too, like the Norin, Christian Bezuidenhout, because there is no Scheffler, which would chop these guys' probability. You know, it doesn't take more than 0.2, 0.3% to take them out of edge range. Chop their odds harder than these contenders at the top, more likely.
Yeah. So thanks, Scotty. If you want to take more time off, just show up for the majors and we'll be happy with you. Okay. All right. Let's get to the conclusion of the show. We have another champ of the week this week.
The Pro Champ of the Week.
This was an impressive slip, Dave. Tell us more, please.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy Nino in the Discord. He's been a pretty regular user in there, always cooking up something with the hockey or the NBA stuff on site. And this past weekend, he cooked up this little 4-legger using Dimer's high edges and probabilities. Nikita Kucherov, Cole Caulfield, Sam Reinhart, Zach Hyman, all lighting the lamp for him, help him turn $5 into just over 275 with a plus 54.39 goal scorer parlay. Our latest inductee to the Dimers Pro Discord Hall of Fame and our latest Dimers Pro Champ of the Week on the podcast. Remember, if you guys hit anything with the Dimers model, we don't care what it is. We don't care about your unit size. Send it in. We love to see the success stories. We want to shout you out and give you your flowers for putting the tools to work.
Yeah, we want good vibes all around. That requires you folks to hit bets and let us know when you do. So please share them with us, and we'll share our wins with you. Okay, what else do we have on Dimers this week while we wait for the Super Bowl to get here?
We got a few things coming up. Plenty of Super Bowl content will be coming your way. I mean, you got to look for everything. Every angle we can uncover in the model, we'll be writing up. We'll be posting about it. So look for parlays, look for ladders, look for targets, look for trends, look for some fun, more unique narrative-based angles. We'll look to see who has things beyond just the box score going on and try to find ways to put the data to use, kind of like we did with Ken Walker this past weekend. If you guys caught an article on site, I wrote about these games being worth millions to Ken Walker in free agency, and so far he's capitalizing on that. But yeah, Farmers Insurance open updates every week or every day after each round. Like I said, keep an eye out for a matchups parlay. I'll probably try and write one up tomorrow and get that up on site. Our daily sports, of course, NBA, NHL, college hoops, tennis. We got the Australian Open. We are now into the quarterfinals, so that's winding down, but we'll have every single one of those matches. And, of course, all the regular ATP and WTA events between the slams on site. So plenty coming your way, even as the NFL season draws to a close.
Yes, sir. We've got Novak Djokovic. We've got Jannik Sinner, Ben Shelton in the Australian Open this round. We're getting down to crunch time, and I'm staring at our models projections for all of them right now, getting set to add a couple bets to my card. So there you have it. Okay. Thank you. As always, another good episode. We will be back on Thursday. In the meantime, gamble responsibly, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you then.